Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories. Wow, we're technological geniuses. Look at us.
Amazing.
It's like, what do they say? Breaking the fourth wall?
Sure.
Is that the saying?
I don't know.
Maybe I just made that up, perhaps. Okay, never mind.
Okay, take it. Let's do it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Job. It's here. We're us. It's Ellen and Sarah. Sarah, tell me what's on the agenda for today.
Ooh, good question. Today we're going to do our quick little stand-up. I think we start with some colors. How are you feeling? Red, yellow, green?
I am green, and I am green not only because of my caffeination level, but also because I'm going to a St. Patrick's Day parade today. And fun fact, I was an Irish dancer growing up, so I'm feeling like a little leprechaun this morning.
It's always it's that time o'clock where the Irish dancing comes out at the bars.
Totally. The friends I'm going with were also Irish dancers growing up with me. So we were like, we're going to do a little jig on the side and make Tim record it and put it on TikTok or something. So
please,
we'll grace your eyes with a gorgeous Irish dancing presentation put together.
Yeah.
Sarah, what color are you? Where are you at today? Tell me.
I'm pretty green. The weather's beautiful. I'm in my childhood bedroom.
So cute. So cute.
So I'm back in Kansas. I had a funeral, so that's a little bit of a yellow, but feeling green because I'm around the people I love. So
good.
It's nice to be back.
Got some good family time. Yeah, funerals are tough, but silver lining is you get to see some family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Heading into this week, Ellen, what's your week look like?
Okay, update on job tings. I have a third round interview with a company. This is going to be a panel interview, which chills, sounds terrifying. And it kind of is. So there's going to be three other people, four including myself, on a call, and they essentially put together a prompt of here's a problem, here's the project and what we would expect. Present your skills, essentially. And it's an hour-long presentation. So got some good meat in there. Lots of stuff to go over. So this weekend, I am focused on that. My interview is on Monday. So if you're watching this on Monday, hi, and wish me some luck, please. So I feel like I can't think of anything past Monday because I'm so focused on this presentation. But hoping to relax afterwards. We've got a couple interviews next week, which will be really fun. And fingers crossed I get some good news about this job, maybe even by Friday. So really, really hoping that will come together. So stressed, nervous, excited, but I'm going to have some time with friends today, which I think will be very needed. So a little bit of a roller coaster week coming up, but all good things.
All good things. You're going to crush it. It'll be so nice. Hopefully by the time that I see you, well, we record on Tuesday, but by the end of next week, hopefully you have some answers.
I freaking hope so, man. I hope so. I feel like the whole process has actually been really nice. The recruiter has been so wonderful. The hiring manager, everyone I've talked with, green flags everywhere I'm looking. It's just like we were talking about this earlier. I feel like I've been so burned before in almost all of my interviews that I'm like, this is too good to be true. What's going to go, something's going to take a sharp left turn and I'm going to be out on my ass. So I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm trying to keep all the excitement at bay, if that makes sense. So, it is what it is, but thank you for the encouragement. I need it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so when everybody listens to this on Monday, shoot Ellen a quick little text.
Please. People have, which is very nice. Speaking of that, good. I have one more story. I wrote two things down in my freak of writing things down for things to talk about on the podcast. I almost cried. This was literally the nicest thing. So I've been making TikToks about job hunting experience, and this girl messaged me and she was like, this is really kind of corny and lame, but I'm also going through the job hunting experience, and it's just so nice seeing someone else going through the same thing. I see you, I'm here for you, I get it, I'm supporting you. It was so nice. I almost cried. I was like, oh my God. And then she said she started listening to the podcast too. So if she's listening, hey. But it's just like warm fuzzies like that is kind of the reason I'm doing that in the first place.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I've had
To
a
find some sort
couple.
of community.
Totally. The community aspect is something I didn't expect, but I'm very much enjoying. So I'm very happy with that. And it's been silver lining throughout the whole thing. So it's just like we talked about a lot about how like the reach that we want to have with the podcast and having someone that I don't know reach out and say that they really like it is just like, it's so cool. Good job, Sarah.
Well
We're
worth
doing
it.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm glad you got that.
I've been flapping my yap for far too long now. Sarah, tell me about you. What's happening next week? Give me some fun, warm fuzzies. What's going on?
Like I said, I'm quite sleepy, so I feel like I can't.
I'm sorry.
I will be brief. Yeah, heading back to Delaware, so I think it's just always that like I've been out of town for a week, so it's just the like reacclimating, get back in the routine, cleaning, doing laundry, and attempting to get back to myself. But I'll do that. That's I think the biggest thing is just getting myself in order. I'm excited to do some laundry. I'm just like hoping and praying. I talk to you all the time about the weather, and I'm just hoping and praying that Delaware delivers, because I swear to the high heavens, if I get back and it is below 50 degrees, I am not getting off of the plane. I'm just letting it take me wherever the next stop is, and hopefully it's somewhere warm, because I've been in the sunshine for the last 5 days and I'm like, why do I feel so much better? Oh my God, I'm so much happier. I'm like, this is it. I am a warm weather girl. It's been decided. So hopes and prayers that it's nice when I land. But that's really it. That's kind of the big thing for the week, is just getting back into the swing of things. So
we need to like get some vitamin D sent your way. It's actually insane how much your mood is affected by the weather.
Yeah. And it's not until March that you're just like, it's that like cabin fever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's starting to bloom here in Kansas. And so things are, coming to life. And in Delaware, everything's just dead and sticky and gross. So
soon,
let's hope it gets better. But
yeah,
that is my week. I'm excited to hear we're heading into Robyn's episode. I am excited to share Robyn's episode. She is a good friend of Ellen's, and I had the chance to meet with her and hear her story about grad school and navigating, post-grad life, and especially a male-dominated world. So it's a good one.
Yes. She's very well spoken. I think the path that she chose is so unique, which I think is one of the main reasons we were like, we need to have her on here and share what her experience was like. Not only is her career path unique, I think her experience, maybe her take or opinion on mentorship is also really unique as well. But I think everyone will really enjoy it. As we head into Robyn's episode, we're going to be hearing her story, her career development. So make sure to follow along and look in the show notes for all the places to find Robyn. We hope you enjoy her interview. Today, we are joined by Robyn Hutchins, and I've known Robyn for a couple of years now, and her story has always fascinated me, and just I'm a little jealous from afar just how intelligent and talented you are. I remember the very first time your boyfriend was telling me about you, and I was like, okay, I have to meet this girl. And she has her PhD in nuclear engineering. Let's let that settle for a moment. That is so incredible. Congratulations. I know that's somewhat of a recent venture for you as well. So welcome, Robyn. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. And I guess I should have updated you. It's now fiance. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Okay, we'll have to talk a little bit more after. This is so exciting. Congratulations.
Congrats, Robyn.
Thank you.
That's so exciting.
I forgot to tell you.
Oh my God, how exciting. How could you forget? That's so exciting. We were talking about water earlier, and she flashes this big old ring on the camera. Congratulations. That's so exciting. And you guys are in DC now, right?
Yes. So we're living in the
Alexandria East Coast
area. So just south of the actual district.
Very nice.
So fun.
Well, let's get into it. We've got some questions we want to ask you. We want to hear all about you and your journey and your career evolution. So going back to little Robyn, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I remember being maybe 10, and my parents would listen to talk radio and the political commentators and stuff. And so probably at 10, I thought it would be the coolest thing in the world to be a political commentator on the radio or just a radio show host that would talk about politics. And so that was super fascinating. And then I really enjoyed history. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll be a history professor and, become an expert in the Revolutionary War, World War II, or something like that. So then that was kind of cool. But then I realized I also like science. So then I said, maybe I'll be a marine biologist or something. And then my parents had to remind me that I've never really enjoyed the ocean or sea life or anything. So that kind of killed that. So then naturally, I was trying to figure out how I could morph all of these cool interests into something and still get to touch everything that I really enjoy naturally and make money from it and have a career and feel successful and enjoy my life. So that's how I ended up from that initial idea of what I enjoyed to kind of modern day.
Oh my God. I love my marine biologist comment. It's like your parents are like, we love you and support you, but maybe let's think of something else. That's so sweet.
Yeah, maybe this isn't realistic.
Robyn, we just had Sarah on the podcast recently, but she was saying when she was growing up, she wanted to be a marine biologist too, and how it was funny because all of us kids just had this idea that we could be marine biologists. So it's just so funny and honestly comical that you said that too, because I'm like, oh my God, I just had another person.
I wonder if it has something to do with, do you remember that Aquamarine movie that came out?
Oh my God, love, yes.
That may have somewhat like subtly, unconsciously influenced.
Probably. I went through a phase after watching that movie of having starfish earrings for the longest time because I was so obsessed with the little starfishes that gave her compliments. So a great movie. A great movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Robyn, you made the transition then. Tell me about your college experience because Ellen's briefed me a little bit on it, but talk to everyone else about it.
Yeah, so I came into college. Initially, I was like, well, I know I need to get some type of STEM degree because they're going to be in high demand for decades to come. A STEM degree is a really good degree to have. And so I thought, well, maybe a petroleum engineer. And so I went up to South Dakota School of Mines and was interested in that. And then kind of in the last hour, I switched to K-State, Kansas State University, and thought, maybe I'll just try out the engineering program. It's probably going to be way too hard. I don't love math. We'll see if I make it. And if I don't, I'll just switch and go to business or something and do something else. But I'll give it a good whack and see what happens. Well, you're in. And I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. And it got to the point where they're like, okay, you're in the engineering college, but now you need to declare an actual degree or an emphasis, whatever that may be. So then I said, okay, mechanical engineering has the widest, broadest of everything. It touches everything from HVACs all the way to cosmetics or whatever that may be. So I said, okay, I don't really know exactly what I want to do, but mechanical engineering as a major gives me the widest options to choose from. So I went into that. And then they said, okay, you're in the mechanical engineering program. Now you have to specialize even further. Like, what is interesting to you? So then they had some of those advisors for that program come in and talk to us about our options. And so they were talking everything about thermodynamics of buildings and really cool things about that. And the aerodynamic industry and working on airplanes and how that feeds into the defense sector and all of that. And then there was this tiny little blip at the end of that program talking about nuclear engineering. And so a little bit of background, nuclear engineering, the first degree in the world was conferred at Kansas State University. So initially in the 50s and 60s, it was a combination of chemistry, chemical engineering, physics, and then I believe mechanical engineering. And so that's how they kind of morphed it together and married it all together to say, okay, this will give you everything you need to know to be a nuclear engineer. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, I'll go into this program at Kansas State University and specialize in nuclear engineering. And so the way that they do that nowadays is it's really hard to get into the nuclear industry without a higher, more advanced degree like a master's or a PhD. So they want to give the students the best option competitive nature as possible when they go into industry to get jobs in the nuclear industry. So they also tie it with mechanical. So you can go to a power plant and be well versed in all aspects of the power generation cycle. So when I started going into the program with an emphasis in mechanical engineering, I started working in a laboratory where they focused on radiation detection. And so that's where I met what became my PhD advisor, Douglas McGregor. And so I'm going to say, a world-renowned expert in radiation detectors. And so within his laboratory, he had several grad students working for him at the time when I was an undergraduate. And I'm going to give a shout out to Taylor Oakes. He was my mentor that ended up picking me up. I was his undergrad through his PhD, and he mentored me for probably 8 years. And got me to the point where when I started my PhD in 2019, was able to just slide right into his spot. And while I had some really big shoes to fill, it worked out really well because he just hopped right over to the company, our commercial partner, that just happened to be on campus in the office across the hall from me, and was able to continue mentoring me through my grad school. So that's kind of my college journey of how I fell accidentally into nuclear engineering. So I'll pause for that because I just covered a lot there.
Yeah. I love that you said accidentally fall into nuclear engineering. Like, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about mentoring and the importance of having a mentor. It sounds like, was his name Tyler? Is that what you said?
Taylor. So Taylor. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit how much he influenced your schooling and how important he was as a mentor to you?
Oh, definitely. And so I think one quick thing that I want to expel upon there is I feel as if sometimes as females, particularly in STEM, there's maybe an idea that you want to target a female mentor because they just kind of understand you better, or however they might identify more with you. Up to about maybe 6 months ago, all of my mentors have been male. So I just want to capitalize on that really quick from the start, that I would not be where I am today without the wonderful array of primarily male mentors that have taught me, mentored me through various situations, instructed me. And so Taylor was awesome because he, almost every day when I would go into work, I would work maybe 10 hours a week during the school year. He would give me some tasks that weren't so fun, but it was really good things to learn, like ordering and understanding inventory and the beginnings of structuring a budget and sticking to a budget for the laboratory and scheduling outside researchers to come in and use our equipment so we could generate income, so we could continue to support ourselves. So I got some of that from him, which I think is kind of abnormal for somebody in that type of role. And I credit all of that to just how my professor ran his laboratory. It was a very laissez-faire kind of system where he would grow his students up so then they could mentor others. And so if you needed something, you'd go up to him and get that from him. But besides that, he had a lot of trust in his students and that they would get the job done and that they would make sure people supporting them would get the job done. So Taylor was great. So when we were doing those more like administrative type tasks, he would also kind of partner it up with letting me be involved on projects. So by the time I graduated with my bachelor's degree, under him, I had gotten co-authorship on maybe 5 peer-reviewed journal articles, which is pretty good for an undergraduate. So Taylor was great. He gave me every opportunity in the world. He taught me. He would go down to the laboratory with me and show me methods of how you work in a clean room and safety and making sure that, I was going to be safe in the room and I knew the procedures. And if I needed anything, all I had to do was ring directly up to his office and he'd be down there in a minute or two. So once again, I would not be where I am today without his mentorship. And then his mentor, Ryan, I'm going to give a shout out to Ryan Frank. Same thing, Taylor, when he was an undergrad, Ryan was his mentor. So then naturally I just kind of fed into that family, and then Ryan became my mentor. And so some of the internships that I had were actually set up between Ryan and Taylor, where they sent me up to Idaho National Lab, and I got to learn even more from Ryan. And so that is a relationship that we've kept going for years now. And Ryan's also a great guy. And it's just, once again, I would not be where I am today without Ryan and Taylor. Ryan's mentor was Steve, and Steve happened to be the president
Hierarchy.
of the
Up the
company
chain.
that Taylor then worked for. So it's this kind of, every single one had the same professor as I did, Dr. McGregor, Douglas McGregor. And so he's just established such a profound network that I've been able to access. And every single one of those guys is just awesome.
Amazing. So then looking at your experience through your PhD program, and then we'll come back to, because I'm kind of curious to understand the relationship, like undergrad ending, transition into your PhD. But on the mentorship note, when you were working through your PhD, did you have anyone under you that you were mentoring, and what was that experience like for you?
Yep. So Douglas McGregor was trying to keep the cycle going. So
Yeah.
I was someone's undergrad. He had me take up undergrads. So I had three in particular that I really enjoyed working with. I really enjoyed teaching. I really enjoyed trying to advise them the best that I could at that point in my life. They were great. There were some that were really interested in specific sectors of what the project was doing, or would even come and say, hey, I'm looking to maybe not go to grad school or follow the path that you had chosen, but what do you think about this other path? And so I would give them my 2 cents for what it was worth, and I hope that I helped them. But yeah, that was something I really enjoyed doing, because I think that those students, now that they've probably been out of school for a couple of years now, I hope that they're doing really well. Every once in a while we do still stay in contact, but yeah, so that was definitely trying to keep the cycle going and offer that mentorship where I could at that point.
Nice to pay it forward too. I bet that's really rewarding to have such a wonderful experience yourself and then be able to pass it on, like you said, the best of your ability to other students that are going through the exact same experience that you went through as well. So that's great. Talk to us a little bit more about your PhD program. I think it was 4 or 5 years, if I remember correctly, which is a serious chunk of time. So talk to us about what that experience was like, what you liked, what you didn't like.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because I feel as if PhD programs are not well understood or talked about. What I'm going to highlight from the very beginning is it's extremely self-paced. So my time was about 4 years. From a history, what I've heard from history students that are doing PhDs, it's not completely abnormal or completely odd for them to take 10 years to do theirs, just because there's so much work to
Holy
do.
cow.
So I, once again, say that I was able to get through kind of low on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of time, just because I had great people around me giving me direction and mentoring me through the project and setting deadlines. And the project that I was working on had preset deadlines that you have to meet these or this contract will not proceed. But with that being said, one thing that I really liked about my PhD program that maybe isn't as prolific across other PhD programs at other universities is the fact that I was put on as a graduate research assistant on the project. So the way that this project worked is my professor wrote a proposal, and he submitted that proposal to DTRA, so the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, to develop radiation detectors for specific scenarios. So ours specifically was a wearable radiation detector, primarily targeted for police officers, military personnel, security, things like that, just so they could monitor their dose, their radiation background, and just have a really good understanding of the environment and making sure that there was no illicit material, so radioactive material that was traveling through an area, say at a concert or a sporting event, just making sure that the environment's safe. And so that's what the project was targeted for. And so being a GRA, a graduate research assistant on that project, I was paid to not only go to school and get the degree, but paid for my work that I was doing on this research project. So with that being said, you are working 40 to 60 hours a week. That's if you want to get through quickly, like you have to put in the work. So there's times where maybe you're not working the full 40 hours a week. And then there's times where a deadline's approaching and you're doing everything you can to reach the milestone that you need to be at for that cycle in the project. So Yeah, so it's not that that wasn't necessarily a not like of the project or how it was structured, but it's definitely going from a student of an undergrad where you're working 10 hours a week. That was kind of a
Yeah.
big transition that you're just kind of sitting there and you have some more senior students saying, yeah, this is what we do. We come in just like a normal job. You work it like a normal job every day. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, okay, this is what we're doing now. And so it's just like at the drop of a dime. Is
Yeah.
I have a permanent 9 to 5 or later job. And throughout my graduate school, because of the way I structured my program of study, I was doing a master's in security studies um, at the same time as the PhD in nuclear engineering, and they kind of fed together a bit. That was a
Mm-hmm.
bit abnormal, and that was a program of study that my professors and the dean at the time of the graduate school and I were able to kind of craft, because I was very vocal and this is what I think I want to go into one day. This is the education I think I need to have or how I need to specialize my education. So that's where we were really working on that. And so when you're trying to pursue that master's and that PhD concurrently, that was a lot of work. And so, you'd work your 9 to 5 job and then come home and spend the rest of the evening writing, reading your book for the week, things like that. So it was very busy, but I think that it was a very goal driven oriented program
Mm-hmm.
at the point of my life. So I think to a sense, the challenge of we're going to do this, we're going to get through that was almost encouraging to get through it. So once again, I don't think it's a not like. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that was a very busy point of life that really thankful I went through. But if I was asked, okay, you're going to do it again, I would be a bit more hesitant. Obviously, I wouldn't anything, but it was definitely a busy point in life.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, yeah. I can even imagine too. I think that you made a good point of it. It's like you're coming out of your undergraduate and a lot of the people around you, friends, are transitioning into like their full-time jobs for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
And the understanding is like, oh, I'm continuing with school. So you think it'll very much be a model of what you've already experienced. And it's not. You're working, you're studying. It's probably threefold of what you're used to from your capacity perspective. So in those 4 years, did you ever falter? Like I understand it's very goal oriented, but did you ever get to some sort of breaking point? And then how did you work through that?
Yeah, so I think that it. So when you're working a 9 to 5 job, you have clear boundaries. You leave at 5 o'clock, and
Yeah.
that's kind of your day.
Mm-hmm.
And you go home, and you can go to the gym, you can cook dinner, enjoy life with your friends and family, because you don't have work that needs to be done that evening. But when you're a
Mm-hmm.
student, and especially in a self-paced program where no one's writing you to get this done, I mean, maybe to an extent, but there's a really besides a couple people, there's not a lot of accountability. So it's very self motivated. You have to be very self motivated and self disciplined to get through it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really degrades the boundaries that you set in your life. So, you come home and you want to relax and be done with the day, but that self discipline clicks in, kind of kicks in, and you're, having to read 50 pages for your night to be able to talk about the book with the class, in 3 days. So it's just it really degrades the boundaries of your life, and so I think that takes a lot of conscientious effort to
Yeah.
um, not reach a point where you're not able to do it anymore. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
kind of to your question of how did you prevent the breakage, and I think a lot of that was just weighing things, the risks benefits of things. So for example, if my brother wants to go out to eat with me and I have a lot of work to do, for a thing coming up, you really have to think, okay, in a year, am I going to remember the 50 pages that I read that night, or am I going to remember this special dinner I had? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's really thinking about those things and weighing them of, okay, which is more valuable here? So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I had to be really conscientious of, especially as I proceeded through the program of, okay, put this into perspective. Because when you're in that
Yeah.
moment, when you're in that stage of life, really having to, like, that's all you're thinking about. So I think
Mm-hmm.
once again, putting it in perspective and saying, okay, yes, I need to read these pages, but let's prioritize things that actually matter.
Yeah. Almost like taking the blinders off. Like,
Yeah.
when it's time to say, okay, I can take an hour away, 45 minutes away from my work to have family time or to reset and to, just have that human connection again. Cause that's something we talk about a lot as well. It's just the boundaries between work, and some people are just so driven with their work that they can't set those boundaries, or they sacrifice family, friends, etc. at the expense for their work. And it's just I really like your perspective of just taking something in the moment, looking at it and saying, what really matters here? Like what's going to be the most important? What will I remember in a year from now? I really like that perspective. That's a good analogy to have. Talk to us about completing your program and where your head was at, how excited you were, and how it felt to close a chapter on a really, really long and important time of your life.
Yeah. So once again, I don't think the dissertation or the PhD program is really
Mhm.
well understood in the community. So really quick, the
Mhm.
way it works is you do, 2 years of courses, say, typically you would finish your courses and then you take what's called a qualifying exam. And so that's pretty much your committee of 5 professors led by your lead, which mine was Douglas McGregor. They have some fun with you and they give you a very difficult question to essentially solve and present your solution to them and defend why you think that you are correct, or where you would improve. So you have 2 weeks to solve the problem. You hand them a 50-page report that says, here's my solution to your problem. And then you have a week to gather a presentation up, get ready to defend your solution. So all in all, it's about a 3-week process. So let's say you pass that, and it's a pretty stressful process. Those two
Yeah.
three weeks are very extremely stressful. So then let's say you pass, and then you have maybe 2 to 3 years of, okay, this is your green light. You start writing on your dissertation topic. You do everything you need to get to do that you can wrap up your project. And so you're having regular meetings with your professor, your head professor. Douglas, in my situation, he's evaluating your work, telling you, hey, I think you need to double check this. Hey, this is great. Explore this further. So you're producing pages, chapters to him. He's regularly marking them up and saying, hey, I think you need to double check this, or this is excellent. Expel upon this. So that takes, in my situation, I think I wrote my dissertation. It was about, I want to say, over 200 pages. I can't remember the exact number. And it took me about
Wow.
9 months to do that and go through edits.
Mm.
So that was, I think, typically it takes about a year to nine
Okay.
months for people to get through. So
Mhm.
then once you have this dissertation written, you say, hey, committee of 5 or 6 professors, please review my work, and we'll meet about it, and I'll defend it to you. You try to find holes in it, see if I deserve a PhD. So you have this for a month. You're just putting together your presentation. You're trying to think of every possible question they could ask you, where they may
Right.
disprove your work, everything. So it's an extremely stressful time. And the way that I had just fell into mine is I scheduled my defense of my PhD work maybe about a week before the summer graduation deadline. So I had a really quick turnaround. So
Yeah.
my professors reviewed my work, I defended the work. So when they say, okay, we would like to pass you, you've performed, you've done everything you need to do, we have these questions for you. So as soon as you address these questions in your work or your dissertation, or give us a sufficient answer, you may submit for graduation. So I had to turn mine around pretty quickly. Typically, people try to take maybe a month, maybe 2 months to
Mhm.
do it. And perhaps my committee had understood the situation I was in. And with the start of my work date coming up pretty quickly, I think that maybe they were sympathetic for that and tried to help me manage the workload. But I was able to turn that around pretty quick. Once again, I had awesome professors, awesome committee, awesome mentors. So I was kind of ready for it and able to turn it around pretty quick.
So, Robyn, you've completed your PhD. What is the next move? Moving to DC, what does life look like?
Yeah, so we're, like I said earlier, we just got engaged in November. So we're just really enjoying this phase of life and just taking it in and enjoying it. We set our wedding date for September. So we're starting to get into the planning mode and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely enjoyable for at least me.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an enjoyable process. So that's kind of where we're at. And so just really enjoying and taking it slow. And it was kind of this weird once getting done with it of, okay, what do I do now? I just spent so much time doing this and it consumed almost everything. I talked about boundaries. There was no boundaries. So now I do have these boundaries and it's just, once you're done, you almost have this empty feeling of like, okay, what do I do now? What do I fill my time with? And so I had talked to some of my other friends, one of which she has a software company and so that she's working on and was kind of the founder developer or whatever. And so
Wow.
she was kind of taking a step back, it sounded like. And so she was having a similar experience of, okay, I've spent so much time doing this and now it's just done. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a really weird thing to come to terms with of like, okay, what do I fill my time with now? What do I do now? But it's also really exciting because you can fill your time doing literally whatever you want. So that's it. It's just a newfound freedom in a sense.
Yeah. Well, and I am going through like a career transition myself, and it sounds so silly, but finding things to do during the day when you don't have that typical, 9 to 5 job to go to is so weird. And like allowing yourself to be like, I'm kind of like, I'm tired today. Like maybe I don't need to go do all these crazy things, but on days when I have more energy, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be gone from the house all day and go to a workout class and find a new restaurant and go for a really long walk. I don't know, whatever. But it's
Yeah.
weird trying to find, it's such as, I feel like it's even weird saying it out loud, but finding
And like
things
still
and
feeling fulfilled. Yeah.
right, right. It's very, very strange.
I was just talking with, we had Lauren on the podcast, and I was just talking with her yesterday because this is definitely something that I struggle with. I feel like it's this almost productivity epidemic. Everybody has to feel productive at every
Yes.
point of every day. And I don't always feel it on the weekdays, but come weekends, I'm like, oh my God, I sat on my rear in front of the TV for an hour. 1 hour. I allowed myself a grace period, and I'm like
Yeah.
shaming myself into thinking that that's bad for me. And I can't even imagine, Robyn, for you after 4 years of constantly self-pacing and having to be so dedicated and responsible, you're almost conditioned to like operate in this
You feel
high
guilty for
state.
taking that
Yes,
time
Totally.
yeah.
exactly. So I'm sure like in those cases of that dinner, it was enjoyable, but at some point there was like, you're like, okay, I need to get back. And you
Yep.
feel guilty for feeling that way because it's
Mhm.
enjoyable things that you
Yep.
want to do. And so I'm sure for you, there's a lot of almost unlearning that
Yep.
that comes with life after a really
Yep.
intense grad school experience.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, that's also really great because you've established that discipline, that habit, so you can carry it on to
Definitely.
other
Yeah.
things, and your work, your full time job, and it doesn't feel like a heavy lift anymore. It feels like this is just how we are. This is our habit. This is, how we breed success. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And you know what your ceiling is. You
Yep.
know what you're
Yes.
capable of,
Yep.
how much you can take on. And
Yep.
now you're establishing the floor, or just at
Yeah.
least something mid-level that's maybe a little bit more manageable long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Robyn, if you could look back during your schooling or even when you were like deciding to go to K-State, is there any piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah. So I think just right off the bat, the phrase "the cream will always rise to the top." So
Mm.
meaning that, you know, if you work hard, you don't have to necessarily be the smartest, the best, but if you work really hard and you just make up for the rest of that, maybe you're not the smartest person in the class, but hey, you can work the hardest, you will gradually rise to the top. And so I think that you don't have to, also in addition to that, you don't have to have everything planned out. You just have to trust that the cream will rise to the top. And so one of my cousins, she's 16, almost 17 this year, she was kind of asking that question of how do I plan all of this? I want to do this, this, and this, but I want to have children at this age. Like, how do I do all of this? And what adversities will I face? I think that, and, she was saying, I want to go to this university, but it's not considered a premier top ranked university, but it will give me the scholarship I need and all of that. And so I think just regardless of where you go to school, all of these other factors, the cream will rise to the top. Regardless of what situation you're put in, you will find your way to the top. And so I think trusting that. And so that was one thing that we were talking through, is just trusting that it'll all work out. Do what you need to do the work, and just trust that everything will come the way it's supposed to. So I think that's one thing that I've learned, in addition to, I think the best opportunities are the ones that you're not supposed to have. And so I think falling into it, being okay, doing something unusual or unique and not feeling out of place or like you shouldn't be getting this opportunity, so you're going to say no. Getting comfortable being uncomfortable and falling into these opportunities, because just because you're not supposed to have it doesn't mean it's not the catapult to the rest of the next level. So I think those kind of 3 mindsets are things that I have learned over maybe the past 8 years. If it's okay to take the unusual route, you'll get unusual results, which is kind of what you want. So just getting overall comfortable being uncomfortable and remembering those few things in doing that.
Going back to the mentorship piece too, how nice that you're able to pass that on to your cousin as well. Just that age is so hard, and making that transition into college, being like, okay, you have to have everything figured out. Like, make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Good luck off into the world. So how cool that you're able to, again, pay it forward to her as well.
Yep.
Robyn, last question for you, and it's a big one. How do you define success for yourself?
Yeah, so I've listened to enough episodes that you guys have done. So I've heard everyone else's
Thank you.
definition of success. So maybe I'm stealing from them. Or maybe they've catapulted me into my own thought process.
Inspiration.
Yes, they've given me inspiration and have kind of triggered me to start thinking about, okay, what would I say to this question? And so I've thought about it for about a good month of, what factors do I value in success? And so how I define success is fulfillment, constant improvement, and feeling that you are able to bring to the table a unique and valued perspective on an issue. So in other words, being a person that people want on your team because you're good, you're smart, you're a hard worker, you bring a good perspective to the problem. So they know they can count on you. So to me, having success is people essentially wanting you to work with them, wanting you to be on their team, wanting you to be one of the players. So I think that, and having my opinion valued, or people seeking out my opinion, and again, teaching me, wanting to pull me along and develop me, and then reaching that next level, that's success to me. And so feeling like there's always improvements, there's always something going on there, that fulfillment is what I need to feel successful.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's something you necessarily reach, like, okay, I'm successful. I think it's a continuing learning process of, okay, how do I continue to feel fulfilled?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that you were able to draw inspiration from other episodes. Like, that's like such a made it moment, right, Sarah? Like, oh, that just kind of put me in my feels a little bit. And how cool. I'm sure it's nice to just kind of sit with it for a second and reflect. Like you said, you were kind of thinking about how to respond to the question, and kind of a nice moment just to take a step back and be like, oh, wait a second. Like, look at your life, look at your previous work through a different lens of like, how do I appreciate this? How am I proud of my work? And how can I, like you said, evolve to continue that, your definition going forward as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's never ending. You're
never ending.
Yeah.
Success is never ending.
I've achieved it. I think it's a continuous
check
process. Yeah.
Yes. All right, we'll ask you again next year, Robyn, what your definition is. Maybe it will be different.
Well, by then, I think you'll have published maybe 50 some episodes that I can also steal from.
more meat to work with.
Oh, that's funny. Let's get into some rapid fire questions,
Let's do it.
shall
Let's do
we?
it.
Okay.
Robyn, what is one thing you cannot live without during the workday?
Water. And I know that sounds so basic, but I found through my program, like my PhD program and everything, if you're so go and not taking a step to nourish your body, drink water, my body is extremely affected by dehydration. I get grumpy, I get foggy, I get headaches. So I have my big obnoxious cup.
Trusty water bottle.
Yeah, just simple water.
Practical gal.
Yep. Yep.
That's adulthood, realizing that you're basically just a plant. You're like, I need sunlight and water, and I will survive.
Yep.
Yeah. Robyn, in your experience, I'm sure we've talked about it a bunch, but mentorship. But what is another benefit that you received in your career that you've really enjoyed having?
Are you saying from those mentors or just
beyond mentorship? Yeah. So other benefits that you've had that you've enjoyed.
Yeah. So I think opportunity, just given the chance to excel. So, and I credit Douglas McGregor for giving me the opportunity. I did not know anything about constructing a budget to fabricate semiconductors. I did not know anything about scheduling outside researchers to come use scanning electron microscope equipment that was millions of dollars and how to train them properly. So we did not have thousands of dollars of damages every 6 months to pay for. I didn't know any of that. And so he gave me the opportunity to learn, and in a safe environment. He provided me with folks that when I don't know, I feel comfortable asking because they're approachable, knowledgeable, and willing to teach. And so I learned a lot through that program of, I'm not going to do it for you, but I will give you every resource in the world and the opportunity to learn. So I think that's where I would stand on that question.
You're so well spoken. I love that. That's where I would stand on that question. I need to remember that for future episodes. That's a good
Period.
one. Yes, period. Last question for you. What is your favorite way to unwind after work?
Ooh, so the schnauzers, the Samson and Sophia, the schnauzers, they're pretty high maintenance. So Trent works from home. And so when I come home from work in the evening, it's just really exciting when you come through the door. And Sophia is so excited to see me. She's jumping, she's nipping because she's got that little bit of Aussie in her. So she nips and she cries and she jumps. And then Samson comes in like the grumpy old man he is and just, hello, peasant, just welcome to my humble abode. And I'm glad you could finally join us. And so the schnauzers, and then Trent comes because he works California time, so sometimes he's still on meetings when I come home. So he'll come around and be like, hello, and then goes back into his meeting. So I think that's probably one of the fun parts of the day of coming home. And then the schnauzers are so excited to see you, and then Trent's there, and if it's beautiful weather, getting to take them on a walk to one of the parks or something. So I think that's definitely a fun aspect to my day that I look forward to.
Such a warm fuzzy, like opening the door and like
Always
your
the
whole world
dogs.
just comes over to you. Like so cute. Robyn, thank you so much for spending your time with us. It was so great learning about your journey and experience. And I really, really love your perspective on, we talked about mentorship and boundaries a lot. And I think those are just, continuing to talk about that is something that is near and dear to our hearts, but is just a very important thing to remember as you're navigating your career and work in general. So again, thank you so much for your time. We will be including all the places that you can find Robyn in the show notes. We hope everybody really enjoyed this episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.